So we get a lot of questions. Should I bother redoing MDF furniture? Is it worth doing anything? And what do I do when we've got a water damaged top and it's kind of bubbly? So in today's video, we're gonna show you how to make over a $5 coffee table that started off ready for the dump, and we're gonna give it a new life.
So when we're buying furniture and we don't know if it's real wood or MDF, the first thing we do is look up underneath, or you can also look at the top. If you have a repeating wood pattern in the grain, good chance is that it's got a veneer on top and it's covered over the top of the MDF or press board material.
Pretty much anything made after the 50s is going to be a mixture of some wood, some MDF, possibly even particle board. And that doesn't mean it's not worth saving. It just means you might need a little extra care.
So when dealing with furniture, once we determine that it is MDF or mostly MDF or a mix, is we see if it's sturdy. If the piece is sturdy, we go ahead and get it. If it's not sturdy, MDF is really hard to work with at that point because it doesn't like to glue back together.
In this case, we went ahead and painted it and sealed it, and then we realized this top was totally wavy. It could be usable, but not something we're gonna sell. So we're gonna give you a quick tip to cover it up and make it look awesome.
So this is the easiest solution we've found to fixing a top like this. You could completely remove it and do a whole new top if you want. We're just gonna lay some cedar fencing planks right over the top of it. They're about 1/2 inch thick, so they don't add a ton of height. They do require a little bit of sanding because they're fairly rough cut, but we like that. That's gonna add a lot of character to our finish. If you don't have a shop or any saws or the ability to make your own cuts, Lowe's and Home Depot will both make cuts for you in most of their stores. So if you know your measurements, you can get them to do those cuts. I'm gonna mark it down here, right along the edge. That's where I'm gonna make my cut. I'm gonna cut enough of them to fill up the top of this. So this is gonna hang over a little bit. So I'm just marking right where I need to cut. Looks like about 3/4 of an inch off the edge of this, so I don't have a lot of overhang. This is the board that was cut down. I'm gonna hide it in the middle a little bit, and I like the variation in the wood tone, so I'm gonna pull that over there, like that. Okay. I'm just feeling around the edges, making sure everything's flush. A little Titebond 2 wood glue never hurt anybody. So if you wanted to get fancy, you could stagger your boards and put a little piece here, you know, break it up almost like a wood floor would look, but we're just gonna go straight across with our planks. It's time to smooth this out. I'm using 80 grit sandpaper on my random orbital sander.
Now that Zeb's got this all sanded and ready for stain, we're just gonna use Real Stain number 2. It's all natural water-based stain. We store it in the fridge in between uses because it is all natural, so you can't leave it out or it'll go bad. I like to shake it up really good before I get started, and if you're gonna do a project that's big, you need to shake it up intermittently because the pigments will settle. I'm just gonna put this on with a mix match sock, and I'll probably wind up doing 2 coats. It takes about 15 minutes to dry in between coats, and then it'll be ready to be sealed.
When we painted this black, we sealed it with Sweet Pickins top coat. I used the sprayer on that. Because this is raw wood, sometimes it can be rough and bring up fibers when you spray it, which is okay. You just have to buff in between coats for the first few coats to get the finish smooth. But I'm gonna be brushing the Sweet Pickins top coat on with a foam brush. Hopefully by brushing it with this Wooster foam brush, it'll help minimize some of the little fibers that'll get pulled up just from being wet from the sealer. So I'm just gonna get it on here. This is first coat, and then I drag my brush smooth to smooth out any brush lines or anything like that. I've got a 220 sanding sponge. I have a couple of spots like right here where I didn't sand very well and back over here where I didn't sand very well, that raised up some wood fibers. So I'm just gonna hit them real quick with this. That should lay them flat. Second coat should be real nice and smooth. While I'm waiting on the second coat to dry on the top, I just got this knob topper stamp and I dyed it with the real stain again. And then we had already done the stamp on there from an episode a while back and never used it. I'll put a link in the description so you can see how to use those stamps. The project's all done. It didn't really take that long, and the nice thing about finding pieces like this is most people are just throwing them away, or you can get them really, really cheap. This was $5 for this piece, $8 for the boards on top, and we're done. Maybe a few other supplies for paint and sealers, but not much.
I really like the way it turned out. I also like that even though this did have some MDF on top, it now has a solid wood top, meaning we're not gonna have to worry about any more bubbling or water damage on this. As long as it's sealed correctly, it'll last a long time, and it can even be sanded down and restained at a later date. So the products we used were Real Stain number 2, and then on the base, we've got Little Black Dress sealed with Sweet Pickins top coat. On the front, we've got a knob stamped with the knob topper stamp and the Flexi Stamper. We've got a video on that, so we'll drop that in the link below.
We love taking trash to treasure and demonstrating how we do that. If you've got any great ideas, make sure you comment down below, or if you've got someone that needs to see this video, make sure you're sharing it for us.
Be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more
DIY.
Hit the subscribe button.